All right, Mark, I'll give you one. I'd say Isaiah Likely traded in round 2. I think
Yep.
that would be for a grade 2 pick, I'd say, and it might be to a team that's thinking about taking a tight end in round 1.
I would say Odafe Owe. A surprise trade.
It's another good one.
Why would they trade Owe?
They got to sign him, 5th-year option. There's a bunch of stuff with Owe.
Yeah, but
Can they really depend on him?
Don't have any. I mean, it's not like they're loaded with edge rushers.
But this year's class
that could be what they do in 27, though. That's the thing.
Okay, so the Colts made their tight end pick. They take Tyler Warren of Penn State. Nice. I think that is a good thing for the Ravens for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Who's next?
Got that one.
There we go. Loving these graphics. Absolutely loving them, Dominic.
That's nice. Hotlanta next.
We're flying through this first round.
Atlanta's got to go edge, right? I mean,
Atlanta's
Walker,
going. Yeah, Atlanta's going to go edge.
Walker, Pierce, Green, they got to go one of those 3 guys, right? Stewart, even?
Or Stewart, yeah.
I really think Stewart's going to fall.
Only reason why I have faith in Stewart is because we have Chuck Smith.
But you got guys who have more natural edge rushing talent. Pierce is way more natural talent, better get off than Stewart.
He seems like he has a much better processing speed. It's like the one thing I think we don't really talk about is the game just doesn't seem fast for James Pierce.
And
I'd say that shows up most of the time in the run game, I assume. Because in the pass game, I think he's just, like you said, he's a one-trick pony.
He's not that much of a run defender. He's got a average number of stops to miss tackle, but he plays, I think, 61% pass snaps this last year. So they used him pretty much situationally. It's just the thing about being unpolished like that, being a one-trick pony, is you got a lot of room for growth if you can learn a counter that'll magnify the value of your incredible get-off.
I mean, TJ Watt's basically just been running dip and rip and a spin move for 9 years now? Because I don't see TJ Watt as a guy with a ton of moves. It's just he's got 3 moves that are so good and they work into each other,
Yeah, he sets them up perfectly. He's playing with the offensive tackle on either the rundowns or first down passing downs, and then he sets them up for 3rd down on his counters.
Yeah, he has a good pass rush spin that he uses. That he'll give a guy something repeatedly and then switch it up.
I love Watt, even though he's a Steeler. But
in the chat comments, Cristiano Andrade points out that only Hunter's the only secondary player to go so far. So the player that falls into the Ravens' lap might be a DB.
Yep.
The way the draft is playing out so far.
Could be a 2nd round DB. I'm looking ahead. I'd really love to get Darian Porter at number 59. He'd be a great selection if he would last that long. He's the one who's a freakish, tall, sprinting, huge, spreads darkness all over the field in terms of his size.
Mm-hmm.
To the one, I know they're not going to take him at 27, but what's his name? Chavon Reveal. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Rebel.
Both of those guys are older corners.
And Rebel's hurt.
Yeah, Rebel's hurt.
But Rebel reminds me so much of Jimmy Smith. Just like the way he moves, just kind of if you squint your eyes, he just looks like that player.
I think we're saying yes, absolutely, to John, that a tight end going is good for the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
I think in 2 ways. One, it pushes other guys down the board. 2, perhaps that was the what's blocking a trade for one of their tight ends. If that's the direction they wanted to go, teams might have wanted to see if anyone fell down the board.
My guess is Mike Green for Atlanta.
Did Alec do the tight end show with you, Ken?
Yeah, he did, and he had Loveland as a chalk high pick, and I went through all of what I did and more about why I didn't like Loveland, and I didn't have him that low on my own board. I was third, so it wasn't a ridiculously low slotting or anything for him. It was just what I thought was appropriate. He's a player I've got my eye on for round 3C. Makuba is a guy I really like.
I'd say there's only 2 interior defensive linemen that should still go in this round.
I'm a big Derek Harmon guy.
Yeah, it's Walter Nolan and Derek Harmon are the 2 guys. After that, I think you're getting too much into the second round for me. But there's still plenty of edge rushers at the moment.
Steve, to answer this specific, I'm just going to say to answer your specific question about edge rushers, Steve. I think it is. You look at the individual and why they've been good at the college level, and in Pierce's case, he's doing so much with so little right now at the college level that I think there's all kinds of reason for optimism. The guy who is in the top 10 for my edge players is Tui Molopao of Ohio State. Great all-around player, decent passer, just an average get-off though, and I think he's gonna have a lot more trouble duplicating what he did at Ohio State than Pierce will under good coaching, say in Baltimore.
Edge is also just such a traitsy, like edge and tackle. I think are the traitsiest positions where it's just like what your get off, what you're laying.
Okay, where do you go to buy that jacket? That's what I want to know. Max Hairston jacket that they just showed. So some of you guys will be coming up in a second or two here, probably on screen.
Yeah, I think I'm about 20 seconds behind you, judging by when you've been announcing the picks. Oh, that jacket. I think there are some stores in downtown Baltimore, like off Charles Street or whatever, you can find that jacket.
Yeah, but someone looked up, and I think the only 2 players to make All-Pro at edge who weren't taken in the top, 20, it's just been T.J. Watt and Max Crosby. Everyone
And
else.
Arthur Blank sitting there in the red sport coat at that table, at that desk.
That has Godfather energy. I'm not gonna lie.
Absolutely.
I will say, living in the area that I live in, a lot of Atlanta fans happen to be Georgia fans, and they get upset each year that Atlanta passes on a Bulldog. Maybe this is the year that they take one. We're going to find out if Atlanta likes Jalen Walker or if they like Mike Green or Shamar Stewart the best. I think it's going to be an edge.
Do you think Jalen Walker, do you think Atlanta's a good fit for him?
I think he can work anywhere. It just, it's kind of up to the coaching staff to put him in the best position to succeed. They're a different team than they have been in the past. I think their coach is the same from last year, but they have a new OC. Or it's just going to be a different offense now that Kirk Cousins isn't running it. It's going to be the Penix. So
I think Mike Green will be a perfect fit for the Falcons. I mean, they've been so in the wilderness so long at the edge spot. They need somebody who come in and contribute right away. I'm not saying that Walker can't do that. I'm just as far as a polished pass rusher. At this stage, it's Ezraku or Green. I think Green is the more talented of the 2.
Green's definitely the more athletic. I think for sure. Because I think Ezraku's ceiling is really like his straight up. He doesn't run that fast. That's I think the only thing really holding it back.
Well, if the Falcons are taking Starks, I'm all for it. Staying in the same state, that sounds good to me.
Do they need safety? They still have Jesse Bates, right? Who else do they have in their secondary?
They had Justin Simmons, but he left.
And they have Jesse Bates, I guess, at least for another year or 2. Starks would make sense for them, but I do think they're going edge.
All right, Jalen Walker of Georgia. There you go.
Yeah,
Yep. Good pick. Good player.
Answering Rob's question in chat, I'm not worried about a rookie safety in Zach Orr's system. I think that our safeties last year had a particular problem that wasn't related to Zach Orr's teaching of the position.
Like maybe attitude.
Something, yeah.
See, what happened to Marcus Williams, man?
Yeah, what did? Right,
Brad
but like
McGowan joins us.
he
How you
didn't
doing,
have
Brad?
trouble learning the system. That wasn't Marcus Williams' issue at all.
No.
They probably had some things they played in before that they liked, but they also probably what differences there were between the way that Orr wanted it done and McDonald wanted it done. They might have thought they knew better.
Good evening, Ken. Good evening, gang. How's everyone feeling?
Hey, Brad, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Going good. I know, Ken, some of the Magnificent Seven have gone board.
That's right.
2 of them so far, so we're still. I mean, there's going to be 2 or 3 left by the time they get to 27. I'm pretty sure.
It definitely feels like someone's going to be at 27 we're excited to have.
Yeah.
It's going that way.
Yeah, we're a little too far ahead at 15 of like making a list of 12 players we'd really like to have at 27.
Right.
But we're still hoping some people get taken. Like we're probably hoping Jihad Campbell gets taken before 27.
Yep.
And we're hoping maybe who else do we want to see get? We want a running back taken, either Hampton or Sampson, either one before.
I'd be good with wide receiver as well.
Okay.
Quarterback.
Yep, there you go.
Running back, obvious. Yeah, you mentioned Hampton, so that would be.
I'd like to see 2 quarterbacks go. That'd be incredible.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
All right.
Yeah, quarterback would help.
A lot of men wearing red ties in the Cardinals draft room.
We got beautiful weather here in Baltimore today and the last couple of days. This would have been a great day to have the draft here. The Barons first and
You
Emin
think
Warriors fifth
Baltimore
now.
will get one?
If they do get one, it'll snow that day.
It would be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
This crowd is really impressing me. I mean, they are friggin' packed.
Do you think an Orioles game would impact the draft at all in Baltimore?
No.
I don't think.
I'm
it
sure
has
the
to.
Orioles wouldn't move it though.
Yeah, no, they won't move it.
I
But
mean,
the
they
Orioles would be on the
they would-
road.
they would schedule around that.
Yeah.
The Orioles, they finally have gotten to the point where they're trying not to schedule against the first Thursday of the NFL season. So they're finally have figured out that little mechanic. But Mondays and Thursdays, as you guys probably know, are the typical off days for baseball. So it's fairly easy.
Chuck Pagano. Yeah, I think he's going to be a great addition to the coaching staff.
Also, the safety coach out of Kansas City, their safeties have been incredible this whole time. They've had such great safety play. So I think he's another really, really good addition. I forgot his name, but
Well, if the Cardinals pick is in, we'll be halfway done in what's really about an hour and 40 of active time. That's lightning fast for the first round.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And we still only had the one trade, just to pick the trade of number 2.
What are the Cardinals' needs? Besides just a
Football
lot of good football players.
So Brugler mocked Jihad Campbell to them in this spot.
I also have Jihad Campbell in my my mock, but I will say there's some injury red flags with him
Yes.
that multiple people have been talking about that could be more severe than is led on, which might make him fall outside of the first round, which is not what we want. So hopefully the Cardinals and any other team that picks before the Ravens are okay with his medicals.
Walter Nolan of Ole Miss. Damn it. That hurts. That really hurts. Ugh.
I will say now it seems less likely that Derek Harmon is going to be available for Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cincinnati might be in on him or an edge.
So I don't know if anyone's watching the NFL Network broadcast as they flip up the cards, but that is the second player that's been taken in 16 picks with a Ravens comp that they gave. They just said Nnamdi Madubuike for him as the comp.
That is a really good comp for him. Who was
They
the other
flashed
one?
Andrews for Loveland.
I don't know.
All right. I don't know that we have a. Okay. No, there we go. All right. So Walter Nolan does a lot of things very well on a football field.
I secretly think Walter Nolan's the best defensive lineman in this draft.
I think he has the potential to be. He has to be more consistent for me. There were just plays he took off or was a non-factor. I'm not saying that every defensive lineman has to be a factor on every snap, but like there are times he's like a jag out there, and just want him to play more consistent.
Yeah. I hate to say like Reddit rumors, but someone went to high school with him and was saying he kind of took this like his kind of like a free agency year, where it was like his senior year. So this year he tried really hard.
I just think the way that they run their defense at Texas A&M is so detrimental to the passers production of some of the most elite athletes in the country year in and year out that it's like he had to get the hell up out of there in College Station to go somewhere where they allow him to actually shine and do what he does best.
I will say that is kind of true for Georgia as well. Even though I love Georgia and I think that their defense does a good job, it's just not the best defense to prospect watch. And to get, tons of high-level production out of a player, like your counting stats.
Yeah, I remember I was listening to Brett Goldman kind of break down the defensive line class. He was saying, with the college rules of having kind of the 3-yard RPO limit before it's legal man downfield, it changes a lot of the responsibilities for the defensive linemen before they rush. It's really a lot harder to project defensive linemen into the NFL than it used to be. But you're mentioning Braden Swinson, and that's another guy I think is a really good day 2 value because I think he has some of the best speed to power. Like he can really get through your chest.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the day 2 linemen, like he can really, if you chip him with a running back, he really can challenge like a bull to an inside move. Which is why I think Oweh's like really, really always lacked.
Swinson comes to the NFL. Swinson comes to the NFL with more polish than a lot of the other pass rushers in the group.
Yeah.
How about that?
Josh, I'm follow-up question to your Texas A&M take. I want to see what the Bengals pick, but I'm curious, given comments about how it is detrimental their system to pass rushers, if you are more bullish on Shamar Stewart than some of the others.
I'm still at the bullish on Shamar Stewart, just because I mean, like even with their system being what it is, I mean the fact that this guy had like no pass rush production the back half of all 3 or 4 of his seasons at Texas A&M. I mean, you got 1.5 sacks year in and year out, and you just pretty much a non-factor in the pass rush for the most part down the stretches. Like that's more than just the system. You're just not developing at the rate that you should be.
I am a little higher on Nick Scordon than I think. Like, I think he's a much better player at a lighter weight than what they had him at A&M. I don't think he's 27 value at all, but I do think he's probably better than what he was at A&M.
Yeah, he was great at Purdue the year before, and I'm pretty sure he went to chase the money a little bit and played in the SEC with A&M. But I think definitely he could have maximized his value as far as pass rush production, and still boosted his draft stock if he went somewhere else. But I know the Texas A&M coffers when it comes to the booster stuff and NIL is pretty deep.
I'm not sure if this happened for everybody, but I think your mic dropped out for about 10 seconds of what you were just saying.
I didn't actually hear a break there, but
Okay, maybe it was just me.
so it
Then.
might have been you. Yeah.
I broke too.
So Ken, with the Bengals on the clock, I think it is unlikely that Eminori makes it past both the Bengals and Mike McDonald in Seattle.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. Jade Barron is still out there as of right now as well. So there's still multiple hopes.
Okay.
And then there's both edges are still there, Pearson, Ezeraku. And Mike Green is still there too. So he's fallen on a lot of people's boards because a lot of people had him taken by now.
I would be shocked if we took Mike Green.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening either, honestly. I don't, but I'm hoping he provides the player for somebody else to take at least. Shamar Stewart. All right. Now that is a great pick for the Ravens.
Yeah, that's.
I could have sworn Mike Green was going to be that pick for them because the Bengals don't mind those red flag guys.
Oh my, Shamar Stewart, my number 11 edge,
Comes to offense
is
or
off
defense.
the board now. That is fantastic.
That's such a Bengals pick.
That seriously might have been the best pick for the Ravens so far in this. The tight end stuff is kind of like there's a marginal gain with each one that gets drafted, but there's also kind of a resistance to the next player getting drafted. That see, this is a player off the board that was a danger to being there when the Ravens are on the clock at 27.
Does he?
I totally
have
agree with
any...
you, Ken.
Go
I
ahead.
didn't want him. That was all I had to say on that. I just didn't want him to be on the board at 27 in the Ravens. Hey, let's do the Odafe Oweh 2.0. Like, no, I don't want that.
Does anybody see a little bit of Jadeveon Clowney in him, like just the ability to get there but not finish?
That was actually, I saw someone give that comp, and I think the best version of him is who Jadeveon Clowney ended up being. Like, that's his ceiling. Like, he can get past a tackle, he can burst, but like he's so linear as an athlete. Like, he's very, like, he squares his shoulders, runs at the guy, and just no wiggle when he gets in space.
Fix your collar, dude.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing for the Ravens for sure. It moves Derek Harmon down a little bit. It'd be interesting to see if Seattle would be looking at interior players right now, or they could be looking at wide receiver. Honestly, there's only been Tet that came off the board.
Nice graphic. Did Roger Goodell play ball like in college?
It looks like he might have.
Just the way he stands up to these big bro hugs that the offensive linemen, the pass rushers give him, like I'd be crushed by some of these hugs or thrown to the ground, and he's right there backslapping with them.
I mean, he's got to be used to it by now. At least got coached up a little bit as far as how to anchor.
I think he's got good speed to power, maybe with.
I am hoping for Matthew Golden right now to Seattle.
David, appreciate you as always jumping in and having a comment here. Always good. All interaction is good. That's what this show is about. Emanwari does not know how to play safety yet at an NFL level. There's no doubt about it. But the thing that's great about him is that he has a 37.1 passer rating against last year, despite not knowing how to play safety. So the measurables have got him by in college, in the SEC, no less. And I think he can be coached up to be a better player at the NFL level. Interceptions haven't been a problem, kind of a loose bracket player, has some of those characteristics, which I like to see. And other than that, I mean, he's a good tackler. He's a guy that I hope the Ravens will have a shot at.
That's just a comment that makes me cringe. Low football IQ with a safety, with Joe Burrow on the schedule and playoff games against Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen.
I don't think it necessarily means low instincts, and the safety is an instincts position. It's you need, that's what you need to have. You could deal with less speed, but it's not the speed won't help him. It will, and he'll be a great cleanup guy on the back end for the Ravens. But I think they'd use him at free safety. I don't think they'd keep Hamilton there. I think they'd keep Hamilton close to the line of scrimmage again.
I actually see Emanwari as a pretty instinctual player. Like he seems to know where the play is going. I didn't watch a ton of Gamecocks, but like it didn't feel like he was lost out there. He's not like Xavier Watts, where it's like, oh, you used to play receiver, and like you can tell he played receiver.
Look to you like McDonald has picked up some weight. Look at him in the middle of this picture at the Seahawks station when he comes up for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like he's picked up 20 pounds probably.
Who, McDonald?
Yeah.
Is that him in the short sleeve blue shirt there? Yeah, it is.
I think so.
He's pudgy.
Yeah.
Well, I think head coach is probably harder than defensive coordinator, and there's more sitting.
He doesn't have Harbaugh around him anymore.
That's right.
Gray Zabel goes to the Seahawks. Now, I did not expect that one.
I like it for Baltimore, though.
Yeah.
Me too. I genuinely don't love that for Seattle. To me.
I'm surprised. So, we got 9 picks now? Is it time to
we're getting close to it.
All right.
So maybe I'll start to put one together. Well, why do we do it together? Let's do it together. We'll put it on this screen over here. That's what this is supposed to be for. And let's come up with the players that we think. I'll put them in this kicker column to start with. Who would you like to see? I think everybody would like to see Ezeraku and Pierce as a possibility, right?
Yeah.
Any nose on Pierce, by the way?
I'm not as high on him as Ezeraku.
I think, I like Ezeraku more, but I think Pierce is still worthwhile having there.
Okay. Who else do we like if we're looking to try and accumulate 9 players and be thrilled about who the Ravens get?
I like Harmon at the end of the first round, so I'm fine with him at 27.
Okay, I'm not.
Yep, Harmon. Start.
Are we all good on
Starts for me?
As I'm in the Emanwari camp along with you, Ken, and I think a lot of you guys.
Okay, I'm as long as it's Emanwari, Starks in that order. I still wouldn't be excited about getting Starks with a freaking first round pick. I think it's way too much. But
Max Crosby.
Is there any cornerback, Hairston or Amos, perhaps? They're really about
I like
Barron,
Trey,
right?
Trey
Barron,
Amos.
Barron,
Oh,
of
Barron,
course.
yeah.
Barron, yeah,
Barron,
yeah.
Barron
Barron's
would be higher
still
on
on
the
the board,
list.
yeah.
He's higher.
Okay, so we could put Barron up here if we wanted to
Yeah.
make a truly ordered list.
Yeah.
And delete that.
I mean, I think the best player on the board is actually Mike Green, but I don't think he's on our board.
Okay, well, let's put
Yeah.
Green in there because hopefully he gets taken before. Okay, there's no cornerbacks. How about Connerly or Ursery? Either one of those. I'm not crazy about either of those guys at 27.
I'm actually
Anybody-
higher on Ursery at 27 because I think he projects inside better, but I don't
I
think
like,
that's.
I like Simmons a decent amount that I would put him on there. But I know Ken views him strictly as an interior guy, and you might not want to guard at all.
Okay, we can put Simmons on the list. I think he's a early 30s pick, but that's okay.
Where are you guys with wide receiver? Like
Mhm.
Ekbuka, Golden, or Burden? Any of those guys?
Honestly,
Brandon, I'm getting feedback through your mic, buddy.
It's okay. Sorry.
honestly, I don't think they'd see the field a lot, and I'd have to think about it, but I don't love any of them as fits for either. I'm assuming long term we keep Zay Flowers, and I'm not sure I love any of them as like a Zay Flowers complement or as like a number 3 right now.
Personally, I like Burden.
I like Burden.
Yeah, James Ogden had him very highly rated for a Ravens needs. I just think it would be weird if we took a receiver. I would be very surprised.
Okay,
Don't we take a wide receiver every other year in the first round under
Yes.
under
Yes. Yeah, we're due.
Costa? So we're due. I mean, I'd certainly rather have Burden than Golden.
Yeah.
Okay. I've marked up some guys in yellow here. You could probably figure out what it is. These are guys we'd be thrilled if they got drafted sometime between now and 27.
Yeah.
And that it's reasonable it could happen. I think Connery I could add to that group too.
I think so too.
Anybody think Simmons has a chance of him being drafted before 27? A realistic chance?
Yes, I think there's a good shot.
Okay.
Well, you can't resist listing Starks there, can you?
Yeah, he.
No,
he
I'm
doesn't
sorry,
mind.
guys.
This is his show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
you're right.
you're right. We're doing this together. Okay, we won't say that Starks is the guy.
You know,
Alright.
Ken, Starks gives me a lot of in some of your pods, people have made the Taylor Mays comp to Emin and he was really highly recruited coming out of high school because I think he had a big pedigree. But I remember going into that draft, there was a lot of noise about him going to Seattle in the first round because he played for Pete Carroll, and they ended up taking Earl Thomas instead, and it really pissed him off. But it worked out pretty well for Seattle. So if we somehow take Starks with Emin on the board, I'm gonna hope he's early career Earl Thomas. That would be my wish, as I'm sure we all would.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's good. I stuck in that M and worry here. I assume Mark is.
Yeah.
I love it. James Washington. Next.
Ken, would you be willing to change the font on the purple players in the punter kicker column? Because it's just a little tough for me to read.
Sure, I will go to a lighter version of purple.
Yeah.
How about like that? Actually,
That's
Would that be-
beautiful. Yeah, that's
Okay.
perfect. Thank you very much.
All right, and this is our scratch paper here to work with. Is this entire chart? So we'll go back to making it just the picks have been taken after this, but yeah. So you guys want Starks and I don't. That's the big difference there.
I feel like Starks is someone where talking to the coaches would give you a lot of information.
And I will say I'll be floored if the Ravens even get Starks. It just doesn't happen. The Ravens do not draft Georgia players in the first round. There's always an exception to the rule, but I don't think so.
He's going to end up.
I think they would have took a Roquan if they had the chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know how you guys feel, but one of the things that I've felt this draft lead in is not as nearly as much consensus about what players fit in Baltimore than I am used to. I mean, I just find that a lot of the podcasts I like to listen to with, various of you folks on it have dramatically different opinions about who we should take. And I find that very interesting.
Another thing that I've seen a lot in mocks is the guy who's doing the mock draft will write,
That's a good
as
pick for us.
usual, the
Yes.
Ravens, sit tight and they let the draft come to them and they take this highly rated player that fell, but it's always a different highly rated player that fell to them.
So
Ooh.
Ibuka goes to Tampa Bay. So that's
good.
I would think that is a yellow off the board.
Yeah.
All right.
Ken, would you rather get an edge that you like in the first and Watts in the second, or would you rather have Emin Mori in the first and any other position in the second?
If I could have Pearson Watts and know that was the deal right now, I'd take it. As Araku and Watts, I'd take it.
Okay.
Barron and Swinson, I would take it. Barron and Uman Mielan, I would take it. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly because I never get it right. I have to go back and look it up.
That sounded right.
Those are
Yeah,
my
talking
rounds.
about Xavier Watts, the Notre Dame safety.
Yes.
Yeah, in listening to Ken's top 10 safety podcast, he was the one that got me most excited. Just with, I think as I've thought about what I want the Ravens to draft in the first round, I frankly do not have a really strong opinion, because I think the bottom line is, as long as Lamar Jackson plays like Lamar Jackson, they're going to be really good. And he just needs to play like Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. But if there was one thing this team could really use, it's turnovers in the playoffs.
Yes.
And if they can get someone that can help generate turnovers, to me, that should be the highest priority with this pick.
Okay, so
But you
Xavier Watts, the last 2 seasons, has had 13 interceptions and 0 touchdowns allowed. And his passer rating the last 2 seasons, it was 30.1 this last season, and the year before it was 37.8. And I believe the 2 years combined, it's under 30, because you can be better. Look, I don't have to explain why, but you have to. Those two combined doesn't mean it can't be under 30 combined.
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy it. You're going to have to explain that to me, but probably not during this show.
Xavier Watts, I also think that he's really known for leadership. And I think someone's got to be a communicator in the back end that's not just Kyle.
Do you have the breakdown of those interceptions and like what teams they were playing when he got those?
Yeah, I have it. Hold on a sec. Okay, so yeah, he did have some interceptions against crap teams. You're absolutely right. But let's see.
He should.
One of the
yeah, it's not a bad thing. I was just wondering.
Looks like Texas A&M. Okay, this is harder to read than it should be. Week 5 against Louisville, he had one. He had one in Week 8 against Georgia Tech. He had one in Week 12 versus Virginia. Weeks 14 and 16, USC and Indiana. And that's for 6 and 24. I could go back to 23. Do you want me to do that, or is it not that important?
No, I don't think it's important.
It doesn't really matter. I was just wondering.
Steve has a good comment in the chat about you can't really think that way. You have to take the best player. And I totally agree with Steve here. I am just saying, hypothetically, if we don't draft a safety in the first and get Watts in the second, would you prefer that scenario for the Baltimore over drafting a safety in the first and something in the second? That's all. I wouldn't advocate for passing on Emin Mori if he's the best player on the board because you think he can get Watts in the second.
Right.
I don't think they can get Watts at 59, but I don't know. How do you guys feel about either trading back and getting Watts, or trading up in the second and getting Watts? Because I just don't think they can stay pat at 59 and realistically get him.
I just don't want them
Yeah, I
to
don't
sit
think so
tight
either.
on like 4 picks in the 6th round and 2 picks in the 4th round. Like, I'd like to spend some of that capital rather than come out of the draft with 11 players.
You know what they would get if they make those picks, though, Jim, is they get a greatly expanded UDFA dollar pool effectively.
Yeah.
And so
I've been someone that agrees with you, Jim, in years past, where I don't understand why we want to draft all of these players that aren't going to make the team. But I heard someone talking. I heard one of the Ringer NFL podcasts in the offseason talking about ranking their GMs for the draft, and they had DeCosta as I think one of the top or top three. And one of the points they made, which I had not heard articulated in the same way before, is that DeCosta is on the record saying that they don't actually scout better than anyone else. They just know if they have more picks, they're more likely to get more guys that are significant. So I thought that was really interesting.
DeCosta's being humble, and he doesn't want to beat other GMs in that way, or even piss them off for future negotiations on trades. But if you look at how the Ravens have drafted over the years, they absolutely beat other teams in terms of
yes. But I think
quality.
more so the point is they're not just expecting that they are going to be scouting much better as they're making picks, and so they're not maneuvering for specific players.
You're saying they're getting more rolls of the dice with
exactly
like comp picks and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I thought that was interesting. I hadn't heard it articulated that same way. I mean, Ken, you often talk about just taking chances, but I thought that was interesting. Is don't presume because you have done well in the past that you have a leg up on scouting over everyone else in the league. You just need more swings.
One of the things that I always go with is that now I know Bill Polian is not our favorite person since his Lamar Jackson comments, but he's a Hall of Fame general manager. And one of the things that he said once was that if you hit on 50% of your draft picks, you would never be out of the Super Bowl. So if we're thinking that way, just taking more swings, rolling the dice more often, having more chances to hit, that does make some sense.
Kind of generally is if you can get three at least average to above average starters, with one being a Pro Bowl caliber in any draft. If you do that every draft, you're really cooking with some gas there. That's
and the thing that we don't realize is sometimes that starter is the 5th round pick rather than the 2nd round pick.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and the more picks you have, the better chance you have of getting to that at least 3 level.
So I get it, but so my counter argument would be, this Ravens squad, 2 years ago was in the conference championship game. This past year should have been, just a couple of drops or fumbles away from it. They're at a point where fewer high caliber players would make more of a difference than a lot of lower caliber players, it seems to me.
Yeah, I mean, Jim, I think this pick is about to get announced, but I think a lot last season's draft, I kind of felt like they came away with two high quality players and one potentially. I personally, I think Wiggins has all the tools to be a future.
I think he's an All-Pro, absolutely.
Yeah, and so between him and Rosengarten, you come away with 2 high level players. Like the rest of the draft, and if any of those guys pan out, that's just gravy versus the alternative where you might have 4 solid starters and no all pros.
Jahdae Barron of Texas off the board.
Oh, sorry, Ken.
Man,
makes a lot of sense.
I was hoping Amari and Hampton would go here.
That strengthens their secondary a good bit. I was gonna mention on the previous pick, since we didn't really talk about it much. It's huge for the Ravens that a team that wasn't really expected to go wide receiver took Egbuka. When you consider the Buccaneers of last year, they had Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and they drafted Jalen McMillan, who was a really solid player for them down the stretch last year. They already have 3 really good receivers, not even to talk about Trey Palmer, who's also a really solid guy. It was a little bit of a head scratcher that they took Egbuka, but it might be a little bit of a signal saying Mike Evans is about out the door. Chris Godwin can't stay healthy. We just want to strengthen this group and give us another guy for the long haul. That's probably what the move was, but it's a big plus for the Ravens because I don't think Egbuka was really going to be somebody we expected to take at 27. And it was just a surprise that the Buccaneers were going in that direction.
Okay, really quick before the
I totally agree with
before the Steelers pick.
Boo!
Someone asked in the chat, what's the best for them to continue to be failures? What's the best case scenario in the draft? And I was going to say that they draft a quarterback, but not Shadur Sanders. That they draft Jackson Dart would be my best case scenario for them. But I have a feeling they might draft Shadur.
I think it's Sanders, but I could be wrong.
I have the Jahdae Barron stats up if you want to look at it.
Okay.
Ken, you came in. You might be muted. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do want to show Jahdae Barron stats, but I don't see them. I don't see you have the.
I can share.
Now let me remove this.
Pittsburgh Steelers have not won a playoff game since 2016.
Did you post it? There you go.
Okay. Lamar Jackson won the Heisman more recently than the Steelers have won a playoff game.
Okay, so Jahdae Barron's a second corner off the board, and you can see
Holy
in terms of
moly.
yards per target and opposition passer rating is in the 98th percentile or better in both. And really there's no single area of this game which is below average.
Yeah.
Do you think
Jim
I'd like to hear your take on whether you think he's a outside corner or better in the slot, because I kind of think he would be a better slot corner than an outside one, and I liked him for the Ravens, but I mean, obviously you have Hamilton and Humphrey that are really good in the slot. We would probably look to somebody more be on the outside. Like Will Johnson seems to keep falling. Yeah.
Yeah. The places where I think I've heard him talked about for the Ravens would be either free safety or corner. So he's got the size and he's been a good tackler. So he's a guy you could move to free safety. I don't think there's any way in hell you play a guy like that at slot. He's way too good to be a first round draft pick, and then you bring him in to be a slot corner. It's a waste of draft capital to do so.
Sure. Yeah.
I think he is. Does he feel more like a zone or a man guy to you? Because I heard him mocked as an outside zone guy.
You know, a lot of that, he's definitely a predator. So he's a guy that would love to play in the back end and cover three. I think that plays well at safety. I think it plays well at corner. And I don't think it necessarily means that he can't get up at the line of scrimmage and get physical receiver. Derek Harmon goes to the Steelers, guys.
Damn.
Let's see. I'm looking for
I thought that was a chance.
Yeah.
Harmon was not one of my favorite defensive linemen. I did like him at the end of the first round, but really had a second round grade on him. Another guy that, didn't make it to Baltimore.
Okay, so he is one of the guys off the list as well. So we're not down to a few fewer players. Do we have now? That was number 21. So we need 6, and we've got 7. So they're getting one, we think, of Ezeraku, Pierce, Emanwari, Starks, Green, Simmons, or Johnson. I added Will Johnson to that list. I don't know if he wouldn't really be the one I'd want. But there's Derek Harmon of Oregon.
Well, the Michigan connection is probably enough that the Ravens would consider him.
Yeah, how about Mike Green not being taken yet?
Yeah, I'm surprised about that. He was top 15 pick for me. I think he's really good pass rusher. I mean, obviously had great production. I think 17 sacks, led the nation in sacks. I mean, you want guys that finish. He's a good athlete and everything too. So I love him as a pick.
Yeah. What was his off the field issue, if anybody knows?
Yeah, I'll give a brief thing, but I don't want this to become a focus of the show. So there was some sort of sexual assault allegation that happened in high school. Virginia took him with a zero tolerance waiver that he signed saying, hey, look, you do one thing here and you're off the team. And then some accusation got made. He denies it. It's still in the process of being resolved, but he got kicked out of Virginia, took a gap year, came back, played 2 years at Marshall where he's fantastic. And that's basically what's happened with Green. Please, QBs.
I mean, I do feel at this point, I feel good about all the names that we've listed. Barron was the dream.
Yeah. Barron was the dream.
at this point for the Chargers, could they be into a safety, or could they possibly want another weapon for Justin Herbert? There are still some good receivers. Golden's there.
They need a fullback or a run blocking tight end to actualize
exactly.
Well, I mean, they're still on the clock, but Ken's dream of the Mark Andrews trade up to 22 is still alive.
Yep. That could still be something that would happen. That's exactly right, Spencer. I don't think it is.
They need a nose tackle that they can convert to fullback.
Well, there are some of those guys.
They have a guy that was like a defensive lineman. They moved to fullback.
Well, they might. I mean,
Scott Matlock.
Yep.
Well,
guys,
Will
let's stop the discussion of Green. I what I'll say is he probably does have a black dot from the Ravens. I've seen their board before. They'll have 10 or 15 for injuries, interviews, other reasons. That would be my guess where they are for Green, and not maybe so much for do they really believe there's 100% chance that Green is in the wrong, but more that they can't take a chance with the Justin Tucker situation ongoing. It just the optics are too bad. So, and somebody asked if Bisciotti had to sign off on that, and I think that's correct.
Steve in the chat asked, changing the subject, would we be upset if the Ravens took an offer to trade back to 34 with the Giants if they wanted to move up for a quarterback?
For the right price, I'd absolutely do it, but I got to get a premium for losing that fifth-year option.
Yeah, I think the reason I'd be upset is because we'd be on this call and have no one to celebrate and talk about all night, but I'd be okay with it.
That's how I feel every time they trade back. It's like I know it's a good move, but I waited up all night.
I know, yeah.
What would the premium
At least
be?
the draft's going fast.
Would it be similar to Baltimore getting back in, or it'd have to be worth more than that? Because we gave up a second in 2018 plus a second in 2019 for Lamar, and that was for the last pick of the first round. So
I mean, would they give up? Would they give up their second and third this year?
I do think by comparison, we had a worse second in 2018, so we were coming up further.
Okay, let me look at the draft pick board and look at the numbers on that, what it would be like. So it's the Chargers. We're saying the Chargers.
No, we're saying the Giants trade up with Baltimore.
Giants, okay.
From 34 to 27 to take a quarterback.
So that would be 560 up to 680, be 120. They'd have to do. The first pick in the third round is attractive. The second pick in the third round for it would not be attractive. So it would have to be the second and their first third, or maybe their first third, and the Ravens give them something back like a fourth, or their own third maybe. That's number 91, that would probably make more sense. That's 136. Yeah, that'd be a good trade. That's full JJ value. But the problem is that the dropping out of the first round, the JJ chart is not reflecting the value of
the
that.
fifth-year option. Yeah.
I do think this is a great draft to have like 3 picks in those top like 80, like 70 round. It's just like that early third round feels really desirable.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, the Chargers are milking this clock. It does make you wonder.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe they're making some calls right now.
Well, there comes a point.
Could they go running back?
Yeah.
Who do they have?
That would make sense, yeah.
They got Dobbins, yeah.
I think Dobbins and Gus are both free agents, if I recall.
Yeah.
I thought Dobbins got hurt.
Yeah, they haven't brought either back.
Yeah. They signed Najee Harris, though. I don't know to what dollars, but they did.
Oh, they got Najee? Oh, okay.
It might go later.
It's a 1-year deal worth nothing, no.
Let's see. Is there an offensive lineman that they would take?
Simmons. Like, I don't think Simmons is.
Donovan Jackson.
No. Oh, yeah. Where is he on this list? Oh, he's a little lower for Ken. Okay.
I'm sorry. Who are you talking about?
Donovan Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, guard only.
Yeah, no, I'm saying for the Chargers because they like their offensive linemen.
Mm-hmm.
There's a chance.
The last thing they need is a tackle. They have.
Yeah, but they just signed Mekhi Becton, though.
Oh, right. Yeah. They could still use a left guard. I wouldn't be. I mean, they love big fat dudes who can hit people.
They're really taking their time, man.
You know what? The Ravens really got burned by the Steelers' Harmon pick. Not so much for Harmon, in my opinion, as for the fact that it's not a quarterback selected. I think the Ravens would have done very well for the possibility of trading 27 had the Steelers taken their quarterback at 21.
That's what I had predicted they would take Shadur in my mock.
I honestly think they should.
I think you still have the Rams as a possibility of drafting a quarterback.
Wow.
I don't see it.
Taking it all the way down to the last second.
Is this just TV production that they're letting it go down to 2 seconds, 1 second, or?
Yeah, the pick has to be in.
Probably, yeah, it's probably in.
Now they'll usually put pick is in when it's in, and then they'll just keep talking.
There we go.
It might just be a broadcast issue. What would be surprising? Like a wide receiver would be really surprising here, but really good for us.
I think they're waiting until the last minute to try to trade out.
Yep.
Who's Team Williams on the interior defensive line?
I'm saying Tyleek Williams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's Ken's fourth guy right there.
What's he out of? I'm blanking.
Ohio
Texas,
State.
right? Oh, Ohio State, right, for Tyleek
Ohio
Williams.
State. Yeah.
Okay, I remember him.
Texas is Collins.
Collins, yeah. And
yeah.
Collins
I
would be
really
a great pick in the third round.
I really like Collins, yeah, but we're talking about tomorrow.
Dude, there's so many defensive linemen.
That's where I am with all of them that are kind of in the next like 4 or 5 defensive linemen. It's really day 2. I wouldn't want the Ravens to take Tyleek Williams or Collins or Sanders tonight. None of them should be first rounders.
If we got Norman Lott in the third, I'd be pretty excited about that.
I like Norman Lott. Ken does not like him as much.
No, I don't like him as much. That's for sure.
Alex asked if there is a rule for what happens if you run out of time. Yes, there is, Alex. The team that's behind you can just run up and put their pick in. This happened to Baltimore, famously trying to trade with the Vikings for who was the quarterback?
Well, it was Leftwich at the time. It also happened a second
Leftwich.
time when Jimmy Smith was drafted. They thought they had a trade in place and it didn't go through.
Yeah.
Omarion Hampton goes to the Chargers. That's outstanding.
Oh my God,
that's great news.
Oh, that's a good pick for them.
That's a great pick for them.
Called it.
Yeah.
Did they make Greg Roden the?
But it's also a great pick for us because we're not taking a running back in the first round.
That's huge.
Yeah. I really like Hampton going there. I think he's going to be a really good running back. But yeah, I'm glad for the Ravens that he went early.
He's perfect for them. He's perfect. Explosive.
Wow, Ken. I must have missed your running back show. You have Sampson as RB2.
Yeah, and I'm trying to recreate my thought on the matter right now. It was like one of the first shows I did. I have to go back and look at that. I know one guy I had too low on my show, and I adjusted it was Schlesinger, and I moved him up to number 4 on my inside linebacker list. But I had him lower, like I want to say I had him 9th or 10th before.
I like Sampson a good bit out of Tennessee. He's a powerful runner.
Yeah, this is great news. Okay, so now we're getting legitimately close. We're at 23. There's 5 players remaining. So now, if you guys have to do it, we got 7 players here. Who are the 2 you eliminate from this list?
Let's take Green off.
Okay, we take.
I mean, in terms of like on the field value,
only for the
yeah, he's way up there, but
only for for this off-field thing, and Simmons too.
Okay, let's make this for everybody in the thread. Give me your two players you would eliminate. We'll try and get a consensus. I'm really asking for it now to fill up the thread.
I need to know more about Johnson.
Johnson is the 414 pro day where he didn't run.
How slow does he look to you on tape?
He doesn't look that slow when he was playing, which is now an eon ago. But since the idea was that he was going to be really fast when he ran, and he's claiming he was healthy, ready to go. It's just a matter of I've been cleared to practice all this, and then supposedly he's running in the mid to high 4.5s, and so they didn't want to let him run at his delayed pro day, which didn't happen until the 14th of April.
Okay. I might take him off the list for the first round then, and we'll just kind of leave it at that list. Or if you guys would prefer to keep Johnson and take Simmons off, but
I really don't want them to draft an interior offensive lineman in the first round. I know that they can use help on the line, but that's just my preference. I think they need a defensive playmaker.
I'm more confident in Voorhees and their ability to take somebody in the middle rounds at guard than take one early and force the issue.
Exactly.
Nope.
I mean, they took Linderbaum really high, so it's not like they won't take a guy, but I would be really surprised.
I think we're seeing
he was the top center in that class, though.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Ken. No, I was gonna say the Ravens historically, with that first round pick, find somebody that can either be in a heavy rotation or start pretty much from day one. I would probably eliminate Simmons as a guy that's going to start even at guard day one, just for that reason.
Oh, I'm sorry. He wants to
someone
scroll up on this. I thought you told me to scroll up and look for your other comment, Brian Zockel.
I feel like someone's trying to trade up for Sanders.
I was just about to say, this is the area that I think
maybe
the next couple picks are where trading up might make sense, because the only credible threat to draft a quarterback at their current pick is the Rams. Then you've got pretty much no one after them. So these next couple picks seem like they could be an attractive trade up spot for someone who wants what they think is the second best quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that the Giants would trade ahead of Cleveland.
Can you scroll down?
The Vikings only got 4 picks this year, so they're a prime trade back team. So somebody can trade up here the next pick at 2024.
You know, I'm getting conflicting trade up, move up, and move down. The punters and kickers are going to move to the right on the spreadsheet, and I'm changing things, and this will be the working column over here. We'll use over this. I should have thought of this earlier. Cut that.
I think Simmons and Johnson probably go before the Ravens get there. Before the Ravens pick.
I think Houston might take Simmons just because they signed Cam Robinson as their immediate left tackle.
Yeah, I know Green Bay likes Georgia players. They already have a Georgia safety. I believe they have Javon Bullard on their team, who was teammates with Starks. I'm not sure if that makes them lean one way or not.
They got Xavier McKinney though. They wouldn't need another free safety.
That's true. They have Xavier McKinney. He's a great player. So,
by the way, I just saw Xavier McKinney sitting in a Packers jersey in the background wearing number 29. I'm immediately thinking about how the Ravens drafted Queen at number 28 over McKinney, who was really my guy in that draft.
Yeah.
Really pisses me off.
Yeah,
Queen's my least favorite first round pick in a hot second.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I don't think that the Ravens would probably get Kyle Hamilton if they had McKinney, and it would be kind of this the butterfly effect thing going.
Well, they wouldn't have gotten. I think they wouldn't have gotten Marcus Williams if they got McKinney, and I don't see how it would have. If that was the case, I don't see how it would have impacted Hamilton. So it was that same offseason earlier that they got Williams.
Okay.
But this is an interesting point. Thank you, Tommy, for this about Schefter's news on the Johnson injury. I heard he wasn't running, so okay. So Hassler thinks the Vikings are going to take Emanori at 24 anyway.
I think the Vikings might take Starks at 24 because he seems more like a what's Harrison Smith? He reminds me more of Harrison Smith than Emanori does. replacement.
But they also lost that jack of all trades kind of defensive back that can like him in the war can. But I can see him in the war going to minutes.
Yes, I remember Matt Elam.
Yeah.
Brazier is a little bit younger.
When I say in a second, I'm not going back.
They stick and pick.
I remember Matty and fondly.
When Bills fans remember Kyer Elam.
Actually, going back, my least favorite first round Baltimore pick was when they drafted Hayden Hurst with Lamar Jackson still on the board and traded out of the Derwin James slot. I was so angry when they drafted Hurst. I was watching the Caps lose to Pittsburgh in the playoffs, and they traded out, didn't get Derwin. Lamar's still on the board, and they drafted 25-year-old tight end. I'm like, I was so mad.
There's another
Rashad
good nomination, by the way.
We're not
Rashad was the worst.
I feel like Perriman's gotten past the slander at this point.
How about Bowler?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Frankly, I was kind of excited about the Perriman pick when it happened because he allegedly ran like a 4.2 something.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Rashad Perriman. Okay, yeah.
I can think of plenty of like second rounders that were complete failures.
I feel like we have not done well in the second round. I almost want to trade the pick every year.
I think more recently we're starting to understand second round.
Yeah, but it's it's like Kelechi Osemele and Rosengarten, and outside of that, like I cannot think of a decent second rounder.
I mean, Tyus Bowser was a good second round pick.
That's fair. And Paul Kruger was a second rounder.
Yeah.
2 of them used to move up for Lamar, which
that's
make
great.
sense.
Roquan Smith was a second
Roquan
rounder.
was traded for a second rounder. That's fair. Very good.
Sorry,
Very good.
Jim.
We are about to find out. Ken probably has already seen it.
No, I haven't yet. They're just announcing it now.
Can't hear anything. I don't know if anyone can hear me.
I can hear you.
We can hear you, yeah.
Jim's trying to get back in.
I got him back in. I added him.
Andrews was a third, Matt. Yeah, I guess Torrey Smith was a second. He's a second round pick.
He
That
was
good.
the great second round pick. Yeah. Kamala Correa, I don't know if anybody mentioned him. I was thinking about Kamala.
Ray Rice was a second rounder.
Kamala Correa's mother thinks I'm her.
Yeah,
arch
she
enemy.
hates Ken.
Who?
Kamala Correa's mom responded to something Ken posted and it was not kind.
We are about to find out.
Yeah, Sergio Kindle was a second rounder.
Yep.
Poor guy.
Tim Williams was a third rounder.
Yeah.
Mount Cody.
Any day now.
If we're just naming good second round picks, we've got Jamie Sharper and Garrett Baxter way back
Matthew Golden, wide receiver from Texas, is off the board. That's very good.
Wow, that is good,
Yes.
and it's a very non-Packers move. Green Bay hasn't drafted a wide receiver in the first round since I think they showed it like 2002 or something.
Yeah, but they drafted a lot of wide receivers after they got rid of Aaron Rodgers.
Right, but still not a first round.
Much to Aaron Rodgers.
If you're looking for a better way to unwind, focus, or even get a good night's sleep, listen up. Let me tell you about Mood, the online cannabis company that's changing the game when it comes to functional gummies. They've crafted a whole line of federally legal THC blends designed to help with everything from stress to sleep to mental clarity and even some spicier needs if you're into that. Now, what makes Mood different? They go beyond just THC. They pair it with herbs and adaptogens to create targeted effects that you won't find in any other dispensary. And every gummy is made with pesticide-free, small farm American cannabis, so you're getting quality that you can trust. I've tried their sleep gummies, and let me tell you, it takes about 15 minutes, and I'm out cold, no grogginess, no weird side effects, getting some of the best sleep I've gotten in my life when I take one of these gummies. And if you need a mood boost, there are Epic Euphoria gummies, game changers. And right now, Mood is giving listeners 20% off their first order by using the promo code RAVENS at checkout. So head on over to mood.com, find the perfect gummy for whatever life throws your way, and don't forget to use the promo code RAVENS to save 20%.
Your chagrin.
Yeah.
Okay, now we got 4 picks to go, 24 to 27. So who are the four
only
guys that
three
we
in
want to
front of
trim
us.
our list to?
I mean, honestly, the top 4 on your list.
Yeah, the top 4
Yeah.
are good.
Yeah.
The ones in blue.
Yeah.
I know Ken doesn't want to see Starks. I don't think you're going to. I think he's going to get picked.
Okay, I really hope so. If they lose out on Emanori at this point, or Pierce, I'll take either one of those.
I kind of like Ken.
Or
I
as
really like Pierce, like based on your review of him, because like he just seems like the first step. The first step is something that you just can't teach, and like to get a guy that has an elite first step, like just give him the Chuck Smith and let him do work. I would be thrilled if we got him.
I also just like the one thing I felt watching Pierce was like it just felt like he saw the game fast. You know what I mean? Like he was processing things, like he was shifting around, like he just felt like looked like a football player who didn't have good technique. As opposed to Owe, who looks like a freak athlete who you put on a football field.
Yeah, Owe just still doesn't get off the ball quickly enough.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it.
Also, I also think the thing that really kills me, his bull rush is terrible.
Oddball picks outside of the 4.
Okay.
We can try to look and see.
Yeah, who would be?
Burden.
Is they really going?
Honestly, if they drafted Burden.
Yeah, Burden would be one I would say for sure.
That would be, yeah.
Let's mark him because he was a guy I thought maybe would be a potential weird first round pick. We'll put him in a dark green over here and then change him back.
I really, 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 really doubt the Ravens would be in on a running back, but Henderson.
All right, I doubt that one, but we'll highlight it just because you said it.
Yeah,
I think he's a potential second or
I
third.
I think if we didn't need a running back, Samson or Henderson. I mean, if we needed a running back, I think Samson or Henderson would be good. Like, I think they're good value at 27.
Is there any chance that we would draft Jihad Campbell?
Did he not get picked still? I guess he's not
available.
picked. I think it's the medicals that's keeping him from being drafted, but you could give him the same kind of marking.
Okay, let me put that in there.
Yeah, I mean he is an athletic freak.
I mean, I guess any of the other corners would kind of be surprising at this point, like Hairston or Amos.
I mean Watts. I like Amos.
They're
Watts,
both
maybe.
possibilities.
Watts
is
and
way
Amos.
too early. It can't be Watts. I mean, just it can't be. He's a second round.
I don't think so. But we're trying to find the
one guy that I think a lot of people love for who he was before the injury was Winston. Now he's got medical issues now too.
Isn't he more of a corner?
He's the safety, the unsafe safety, right? Kevin Winston.
Yeah, he's a safety. Penn State.
Oh yeah, he's the safety. Okay.
Ian Rappaport saying the Chargers and Packers are confirmed to have trade calls during their picks, so they were definitely taking their time.
I'd be a little surprised if Vikings don't trade this pick.
Yeah, Anders just asked in the chat if there's a trade back that we would be okay with. We talked about this a little bit ago. Any of the teams in the top of the second round that wanted to trade up to draft a quarterback to get the fifth year option, we'd be thrilled to get a second and a third round pick in return for 27.
I mean, it depends on when the 3 is, but if the 3 is anywhere towards the top of the first round, I think that's enough compensation to get rid of the fifth year option.
Yeah.
If you want a really surprising trade, and this is one I've been posing to various people. Let's say they've already had the discussions with Tyler Linderbaum, and Linderbaum wants to reset the market at center. Would you trade Linderbaum for the 33rd pick in the draft?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in a heartbeat. I know Baltimore loves him. I mean, both in the national broadcast at the beginning of the year, both the reporters commented that both Harbaugh and Lamar said that he's a future Hall of Famer, and I am just like you could find a guy in the 5th round to play. I don't know why you need an all-pro center that's not.
He's undersized.
The guy in Kansas City,
Yeah.
The Eagles are working the phones to move up. That's interesting.
Gotta be.
I'm with you, Reed. I think that's a good point. And if we knew Watts was going to be there at 59, I'd feel secure about it. But I'm afraid Watts goes at number 45, so they're not positioned to get him. And it means they miss out. But I think Watts is 85% of the player that Emanwari is, at least.
All right, here we go.
Like that.
Donovan Jackson off the board going to Minnesota.
So now we got to feel real good.
That's real.
Pretty chalky in terms of the offensive line, but Simmons and Savainaya are both available.
So Connerly should still go in the 1st round. And remember, if there's one team at the end of this 1st round that needs offensive line, it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
They will probably reach a little bit on a tackle. So if Simmons is there and they think they can use him as a tackle at some point, they might take him. Connerly,
what about trading up with the Ravens to get to get up to 27 and take Connerly?
Houston trades the pick to New York, so this means the Giants
I just saw that.
the quarterback here.
Houston traded out to New York. There goes Shador.
Yeah, they're going to draft a quarterback.
Just
really quick,
that's good
Steve,
news. That's good news. Okay.
Yes, Steve mentions in the chat about Linderbaum. You're coveting the 5th-year option, but aren't using it on Linderbaum. And if you're implicating why don't we use the 5th-year option on Linderbaum, the reason is because he gets paid his 5th-year option, the average at the top offensive lineman.
Right.
So he would get paid as a tackle, which is not worth it.
And they knew that when they took him. They went in with eyes open into that, and it's a particularly bad strategic blunder to do that with interior offensive linemen.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's contracts I'd really like Linderbaum on, and it is not a market resetting contract. Like, I don't think he should be paid as much as Cam Jordan.
And to be clear, I like Linderbaum. I think he's a good player. I think he brings a lot of value to the team. I'm just worried about paying him top of the market money.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what did you guys think about the value of the Eagles offensive lineman that just got paid?
Mekhi Becton?
No, not Mekhi.
No, they paid Cam Jurgens.
Cam Jurgens.
They just got Jurgens. So when he got paid, I think it was like 17 mil, and Creed Humphrey is at 19 average annual value. Do you think Linderbaum is kind of the intersection between those two?
Well, I mean, that might already be too high, but I certainly can't.
Whoa, Jackson Dart getting hugs.
Yeah, so this is a big deal. If Jackson Dart is the guy, that really increases the value, I think, of Milroe or Sanders at 27. So this is a great potential pick for the Ravens here.
I think Cam Jurgens is better than Linderbaum. I wouldn't put them in different tiers entirely. I don't think Creed Humphrey to me is like a first ballot Hall of Fame center, and I would not say that about Linderbaum or Jurgens.
Right,
but I do think Jurgens is not as flawed a player as Linderbaum. He doesn't get pushed back as much, but he is similar in that he is an incredible mover in space. So I would say 14 to 15 for Linderbaum would be my number.
The guaranteed money.
So Drew Dahlman, that was previously with Atlanta, got 14. I believe it was this offseason.
So I was hoping for 4 for 64 for Linderbaum. I thought that would have been a reasonable place to land.
That's what I was thinking. 4 for 65, yes, guaranteed, right?
It wouldn't have been all guaranteed, but it would have been very likely to be paid. The structure would be very likely to be paid.
Right.
I just want to know what was the fully guaranteed of that Eagle Center?
It was 40 million on 68.
Okay.
So about 59% of the total value. So kind of where you'd expect for a long-term deal.
So
Anders asked if wasn't here a pickup from the OBJ Chiefs trade. If you're talking about Linderbaum, no, they picked Odafe Owe with the pick from the OBJ Chiefs trade. They picked Linderbaum with the pick that they got from the Cardinals for trading Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, and they actually traded again down 2 spots, I think,
Yeah, they
23
did.
to 25 too.
Yep.
All right. So are we? Who's the quarterback we're hoping for here? Do we hope for Milrow?
Well, I think we're pretty sure it's Jackson Dart. They showed his family celebrating.
Huh.
So he would have gotten the phone call.
Yeah, they showed him on the phone, and it looking happy.
What do we think about Jackson Dart?
I don't understand it. I don't get it.
I'm all for it.
He was just a solid player at Ole Miss.
The other thing is like that was just all RPOs and screens. Like it's about as far away from a pro style as you can get, to me.
Oh, and there was this piece, John Gruden on his like quarterback camp. He didn't have a snap count at Ole Miss, just claps. So, I mean, how's he going to translate that to the NFL?
He also
I don't know.
Does not.
He's got a great quarterback name though.
Jackson Dart.
Great
Hey guys,
movie star name.
If you have knowledge of the picks or you look on Twitter or something, I'm going to reiterate, please do not tip picks. Part of the fun of this is we all have the organic experience and we all learn the pick at the same time within a second or two. And it's just what we're hoping to experience here together. So if you may know and you may not, and I know some people saw Jackson Dart celebrating, special case, but please don't give it away if you're following the Miami Twitter account that gives all these picks out 10 minutes early.
Jesus Ramos said he doesn't think Dart was happy. He thinks those hugs were, "We will see you tomorrow." Maybe. Maybe.
All right, honey, we'll come back tomorrow.
Steve asked, they'd use the fifth year option on Oweh. Has it been a big advantage? And I think, Steve, the fifth year option, I think it's only, what is Oweh's number? It's only
14 million.
14 million?
14 million.
Yeah, that's
The
absolutely
answer is
a
yes.
reasonable
Was a big
number.
advantage.
Yeah, that's a totally reasonable
Also, I don't think
number.
Owe is like a bad player. I just don't think he's what we were hoping for.
No. Oh, yeah. He's certainly
Not
a
first
solid
round caliber.
player. You wouldn't want to pay him. What would you, if they were to, I mean, I think Ken's talked about this, but of the guys that are in line to be re-signed, Oweh would be pretty far down on my priority list after Travis Jones, Isaiah Likely, the likes of those, Kyle Hamilton. But if you were to re-sign him,
It'd be around the value of his current fifth year option.
yes, fifth year option. So 4 years, 60 million, something like that.
I think it might be a little higher, 64 to 66 million.
Matt Waldman.
Jackson Dart officially is the guy at number 25. We have only one pick separating us from a Ravens opportunity.
So who do we have left on our board?
Okay,
Everyone.
we got Ezeraku,
All the guys
Pierce,
that we still-
Emanwari, and Starks.
It looks like the Falcons have traded into
another trade. There goes Shador.
No, they just drafted.
No, if Atlanta is trading in front of Baltimore,
they might like Starks a lot
because of the Georgia thing. Is it really in front of Baltimore, or is it in front of somebody below us?
Right.
I mean, they
need pass rush help.
Well, they need pass. They took Jalen Walker.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But they could double dip. I don't think that's crazy. Also, Jalen Walker's like off ball, on ball.
Yeah.
He's like a chess piece more so than he is like, I'm gonna put my hand in the dirt and run.
Zach Bond.
Nice glasses on the quarterback.
Yeah, that's nice.
Wait, I have a pair like that. Hold on, let me put those on.
Yeah.
Get my Jackson Dart lookalikes.
Call them your Jackson Dart.
My guess is Starks. I think they like Starks.
There we go. My Jackson Dart lookalike. I don't have the shaggy hair though.
The other thing I think about Starks, and I forgot the name of the Georgia fan, but from what I hear from Georgia, like he really is a leader on that defense and a leader in the secondary. And I think Atlanta really needs like culture guys.
Yeah.
Like they need people who are like, we're here to
Wow, uncanny.
Yeah, but don't they have Jesse Bates?
They do.
Yeah, they do.
But Jesse's like, from what I live down here in Atlanta, so like he's more of like a quiet, lead by example guy. You know what I mean?
His brother looks just like him, Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
This is so weird to me.
There's a lot of Star Wars stuff with.
He loves Star Wars.
Evidently.
He does the one like eyeliner thing because it looks like Anakin Skywalker from like the third movie or whatever. That's why he is his favorite. Like he's a huge Star Wars nerd.
Well, that's.
I like the guy a lot. He seems like a cool dude.
He seems like a cool dude, but like drafting a moderately productive quarterback out of a Lane Kiffin offense is just
Agreed. I think it's a really bad pick.
Yeah.
Hey, great night today, guys. I mean, this night was fairly packed with analysts. The next two are even more packed. But I appreciate the way guys have been able to distribute the ball here and let everybody make a point or two here.
Falcons pick is in.
I have a feeling it's Starks. I think, Ken, you're going to have your option of Imanwari or Ezraku or Pierce.
Yeah.
Going back to the re-sign, John's comment is up that Hamilton is the guy we need to sign first. I think that's just a given.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a given. Ken invested in the top of the line jersey, so Hamilton's not going anywhere.
Right.
Who do you question for the panel? Who do you think Hamilton's like the best defensive player since we drafted? Like, how far back do you have to go to see a defensive player we drafted of that caliber? Because like I think he's better than
Suggs.
Terrell Suggs, I'd say.
Nada.
Yeah.
Suggs or Ed Reed. Hamilton's got a future. He's a Hall of Famer written all over him.
Humphrey was the next best kind, but he's not at the same level that Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Potential Hall of Famer.
Hamilton's a future Hall of Famer. Like
Hamilton
what did he just turn 23?
Did we draft Nada after Suggs? Nada came after.
Nada after Suggs.
He was later than Suggs.
Would you put
Suggs was
Hamilton
2003.
over Nada?
Yes.
I think
Sean Asher.
Yeah.
That's
a high compliment.
All right, here we go. The pick is in. There is no more chance for a stale. This could be a Staley because the Falcons traded into this pick.
Emma yeah.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
They do have a defensive coach that was a defensive back.
Starks, please, Starks, please, Starks.
They're showing the Phillip Rivers.
No! Oh, James Pierce taken right ahead of the Ravens.
That's not too bad though. We still got some options.
That's okay.
We still got options.
Can you put our board up?
I will still be very surprised if Baltimore goes with Starks. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Okay, so I really hope it's not Starks. I hope they pick Emanori over Starks.
I'd love
and
Starks.
if somebody gave me the alternative of you can have Ezraku for sure, or the Ravens decide between Emanori and Starks, I think I'd take Ezraku because I'd just be concerned about the wrong choice being made.
So
interesting.
If you're Eric DeCosta and you look at this, you trade back 3 spots, don't you?
Yeah, but you need someone. You need someone willing to come up.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Buffalo will take Starks if Baltimore passes.
Yep.
I think if
he'd be great for Buffalo.
The question would be would Baltimore want to trade with Cleveland? Because they could trade back up and get Shedeur and get the 5th-year option.
And the crazy
I'd
thing
probably
is
be fine
Mike
with
Green
that at
is
this
still
point.
there.
That's
Mike
a great
Green, Josh Simmons, Will
Everyone's
Johnson,
a
all
tough
of them are
choice
still
right now.
there too.
I did
Luther
not think that the Ravens were going to have to pick
Luther
a
Burden to Baltimore that would be crazy. Luther Burden would just be like the one that we're not talking
crazy.
about.
Yeah.
I think this feels like a good draft to trade like down into the second and then back up with our second.
Pickles Cage, I like this. With so many, first of all, I love that his name is Pickles Cage.
That's pretty great.
We have so many picks, though. I'm not sure a trade back makes sense unless it's for next year. I mean, yeah, the Ravens don't need to pick up picks. It would be, yeah. I mean,
I don't know if I'd want to go that far back. I mean, you could.
Back how far?
All the way to all the way to Cleveland in the second round. I think you're going to miss out on Ezraku, Imanwari, and Starks if you do that.
Don't they draft number 33?
Yeah, I think they have the top pick. Yeah,
they have 33. I just think that you have a pretty decent chance of missing out on those 3 guys.
45 to go. The phones are being worked, guys.
It did really kind of like.
This is going to be a buzzer beater.
Pierce.
It's going to be Malachi Starks, and Ken's going to be furious.
Please, Emanwari.
I don't know. I'm feeling Luther Burden.
You know, I don't think I'd be terrible with
The
that.
pick has been traded to the Las Vegas Raiders for Max Crosby.
Oh, dude!
Yeah.
I would
Why did I
jump
even
up and
check?
down.
And they take his full contract.
First of all, that puts us straight into the Super Bowl. Don't even deny it.
I've also got some neck pain issues that I had to whip my head left to see the TV. If that was weird.
Yeah.
Stop that.
Your lips to God's ears.
Jarrett Rice says trading with Cleveland is fine because we know the Browns are going to screw it up. That's fair.
The Ravens are picking Travion Henderson.
Or they
That
pick a
would just-
tight end when they haven't traded one yet.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
They pick Arroyo.
Even worse.
He's-
Sick.
Pick is in.
There
Okay.
you go.
Is
So
it?
they
I don't
made
know.
the pick. That's good.
Eamon Mori is the sexiest pick, I think.
I'm okay with either of the E's. I'm not okay with an S here.
Well, one of the E's plays S. Does that count?
Yeah, but the S plays S too.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, there have been a number of times I've been specifically disappointed on the non-drafting of a safety by the Baltimore Ravens. Happened a number of times. The only time it's ever worked out is this time that they drafted the guy who was, you know, no way in hell can they say no.
All right, so they kept the pick until 3 minutes left in the clock, right? So that means they were looking at offers, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but that's also not uncommon.
Yeah.
They're always like just double checking to make sure that, you know,
Yeah.
nothing. Max Crosby isn't out there.
Jesus.
Dude,
You know.
Max Crosby is, I think, the one pick everyone wants back around the NFL. Like early fourth
yeah.
round.
Yeah.
Fourth round.
There's several of those.
Yeah, but edge rushers, those guys
Yeah.
go. Those guys.
Why does
go
it seem like the Ravens always have a pick in its commercial?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Every year.
Every
They always
damn
do
year.
that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Well, I think part of it might be, honestly, where they are in the draft order, right? Like the last,
Oh, he's 20 something, yeah.
right? You know, late
Back end of the
20s,
20s.
right? You know, it's time for a commercial break, and it just so happens that the Ravens again.
So there's no defensive lineman anymore that would make sense at this spot.
No.
What would
It-
Connerly tell you at this point?
Wow.
There's no
It
way.
would tell me that I'm staying up a little bit later drinking is what it would tell me.
Mike Green.
Yeah.
Did
I
Mike
mean-
Green go while I was dealing with my power failure?
No. No, he's still on the board.
Okay, everybody
mean-
except for DeCosta and Ozzy seem to be happy with this pick. Everybody's. Yeah.
See,
We got
you guys-
need anything on that board? We got to freeze the screen here and see what we can read. And that looked like literally legible in the background there.
Local pro day prospects on the right.
Jarrett Rice says I had a bingo card spun up today to play a drinking game for whenever Ken mentions Patrick Queen, Derwin James, etc.
And the other big one is Ben Grubbs and Joe Staley.
Yeah, that's a
gotta
good
be
one,
in
Jarrett.
there.
Yeah,
That's a
that
good
would
one.
hurt. The one that really hurt me
Gotta-
last year.
gotta put
was these guys.
Xavier McKinney on there.
I mean,
Yeah.
what if it's like Jahad Campbell or something?
I would be like weirdly excited if it were him, but I think to me the sexiest pick is Emin Mori right now.
I mean, I don't know. The,
Ken's
the
gonna,
top
Ken's
off-ball
gonna have the
linebacker.
pick before us, and we're gonna have a very good indication
Here we go.
on if he likes it or not.
Oh,
I know
there's the
I'm
board.
delayed.
I really am almost a minute behind you, Ken.
Yeah, I'm a minute behind too.
He's
Oh,
walking-
Malachi Starks. Oh,
No, he's playing. He's playing. He's
I'm
playing.
kidding.
He's playing. He's playing.
No, he's not. It's Malachi.
I'm not
Starks.
playing. That's real.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm happy.
Oh wow!
I'm happy. I think he's a great fit. That's pure.
They took a
pure
Georgia
free
player
safety right there. Yeah.
That doesn't make sense though because of how much it's been linked to Baltimore. Like that stuff never gets out of the building.
I don't.
Well, so that would mean it's not a leak so much as an accurate like scouting projection.
I guess, yeah.
There it is, Malachi Starks. So a lot of people like this pick. Dane Brugler liked this for the Ravens. I mean, a lot of people did.
Okay, in simple words, I hope he makes the frickin' Hall of Fame. But this is a guy who has not produced as a coverage player in college.
Okay,
and that's my basic problem with him. Is all sorts of things are projected onto him, and people are angry with a player like Emenwari who has performed outstandingly in coverage in terms of his metrics in college, and it's the basic level of upsetness. I understand every major person.
You
Brugler
cannot,
and Kuiper and
you
all
cannot argue with this outfit. This is an outstanding outfit.
I agree with that, Jim.
Look
I
at that.
agree with that.
Holy cow!
I agree with that. And another amazing chain. If only it said film stud on it.
That's really the only way it could be improved.
Wouldn't have been endorsed by Ken though.
Are you guys on NFL Network like me,
Yes.
or are you on a different one?
We're on
NFL Network, but Hulu over Fios, so I'm a good solid like 45 seconds behind Ken.
Yeah, they already showed the highlights: the interception against Oregon, the interception against Clemson, and then some plays in the backfield.
That was nice against Florida.
Man, Jim, this is a top end suit, I tell you.
This
That
might
is a
be
nice
the
suit.
best suit.
Yeah.
Look at you, man. Look at that fit.
All right, we're gonna
How you
go up a
dripping
few
so
Malachi
cold?
Starks stats
Well-
since he's the guy.
We're gonna have to get Ken a Malachi Starks jersey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think they drafted him because there's no prominent Ravens that have worn 24.
Corey Graham.
Peters.
You'd like a word?
Yeah.
Marcus Peters wore it for a minute.
Yeah.
Marcus Peters.
Who's the corner that we got from the Titans? way
Dominique Foxworth
back when?
back in the
Dominique
day.
Foxworth.
He wore 24.
More 24?
Times
He
Twitter
wore 24. Yes, he did.
podcast partner.
Yeah.
What about? Didn't the corner that we got from the Titans way back when? Didn't he also?
You know
wear
what?
24?
I probably like Malachi Starks a little bit more than Ken because 24 is my favorite number as well. So
Samari
fair.
Roll?
Samari Roll was 22.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah.
He was 22.
Samari Roll's
So
got to be
Starks.
the best 24.
I think Bo Braid wears 24 right now, so he's giving that up.
oh yeah, Bo Braid can walk on the practice squad.
All right, few things about Starks here. He had really lousy testing in the shuttle, vert, and three cone, 19th percentile or worse in all three categories.
Woo!
Stops to missed tackle ratio is 2.6 to 1, but he has a really low missed tackle rate for his career of a 6.9%. It's definitely the best part of his game. But here's where the problem is, and this for a first round pick, I just can't accept. 8.7 career yards per target with a 92.6 passer rating against. They played some
I
SEC
will say,
quarterbacks.
I do not trust per target metrics for safeties.
Okay, there is a lot of between level 2 and level 3, but I think they're generous generally with safeties in terms of not giving those targets to the safety on PFF. I don't disagree with you, by the way. There's a lot of differential in terms of if you look at different sources of who they're charging with the target, the underneath or the over guy.
Right.
People are asking.
I mean, this
People are
might just
asking,
be
like,
this might be
go ahead.
Ardarius Washington.
The girlfriend is very pretty. Let's just figure that is
These are the important things.
That's right.
Must have a lot of confidence.
I think it was they're probably looking less so for a replacement for Hamilton and someone just to pair with him back there.
I think they want to move Hamilton back to the line.
Do you guys
But
want to
it's
hear
Starks-
me
Starks,
read
I don't
off
think
the-
Starks opens that up though. I think if they pick Eamon that opens that up.
What opens up?
If they drafted Eamon that opens up Hamilton to do Hamilton things in the box. I feel like this Starks makes it more so of a pairing with Hamilton.
Even is more of a box guy to me.
Right, and in this guy's
Mr.
more
Ed,
of a free.
I think,
guy.
guys, I think we don't. Mr. Ed has the perfect analysis. we took it off, but he said
I bet.
Starks had a 78 rating metrics, and he had a 78 in calculus in college. So
that was decent.
There we go. Next gen stats, 78 production.
May I read
That's
Malachi
perfect.
Starks' strengths and weaknesses off of Dane Brugler's Beast for the Athletic, his scouting guide?
Go to it.
All right, so we have unique athlete with loose, fluid movement skills, shows speed to cover a wide range of the field off the hash, clean pedal to mirror and match tight ends or receivers underneath, body control to make wow plays on the ball, large catch radius to high point the football and finish, genuine leader because of his humble attitude and commitment. Secondary coach Travaris Robinson says he holds people accountable and he holds himself accountable. I think that's his greatest trait. Weaknesses: not a powerful tackler, flies downhill in run support but doesn't consistently protect against cutbacks, over aggressive at times, biting on run fakes. These are really all the same thing. Can carry in man coverage but tends to overplay multiple breaking routes and stumble in recovery. So that's the strengths and weaknesses.
I got something for you guys.
Started 42 straight games to finish his career. Yes, go.
All right. So from Next Gen Stats, Trevor Sikkema posted this, I think, at the Combine. Malachi Starks had the fastest on-field top speed for any safety in all 4 drills. The gauntlet drill, 18.39 miles per hour. The line drill, 18.66 miles per hour. The W drill, 17.92. And the Terrell Austin drill, 18.74. So when he's playing football, doing football movements, he's moving at a good speed and he's very fluid. That's what I would take away from that.
Yeah. I mean, it just a lot of that sounds to me. I'm not going to make the comparison, but sounds to me like more of a, like a savvy, fluid football IQ player. But I think some of the things that you pointed out, Ken, don't show up in the metrics all the time.
Right.
So
the one thing that never shows up is like, how did the guy make his bad plays? And the thing that Starks did a lot of in college is takes very bad angles to the football. And maybe that can be taught. Maybe his instincts can be better, so she takes a better angle to a deep route. But Golden and the Texas receivers beat the crap out of him in that playoff game. Playoff game or the conference championship game, whichever one it was.
Can't remember which one.
Georgia was able to win both of those games, but to your point, the guy that really stood out, if you're watching those games for the defense, was Dan Jackson. His teammate, the safety that nobody will talk about, that's an older prospect but actually ran faster, 4.45 40 guy, was all over the field. Number 17, a white safety, running and hitting people and creating turnovers against Texas. So I do agree that Stark sometimes, especially in 2024, was out of place or just a little bit behind on some plays and some angles. So I do think that he's not like the cleanest prospect ever, but he was such a stud early on at Georgia, and it really continued.
I'd like to
throughout.
hear, can we get an answer to Brian's question in the chat? Ken, your anger here on a scale between PQ and Linderbaum, like where does your anger over this pick fall?
All right. The problem is with the comparable players available at the same time at the same position. So I would say I'm maybe 0.6 of a Patrick Queen on this one. So it's definitely not as high as Patrick Queen pick was terrible. It was positional value, misalignment. It was peaking at the very top of the inside linebacker valuations. It just was a batch of suck across the board.
Yeah.
But this one, it's not as bad. I mean, he's a guy I'd be perfectly happy with having a little later. If they traded back and gotten Starks at 40, I'd be pretty happy with that. I'm just really not happy with it at this point. And I also think Starks carries a versatility premium with him that the Ravens may have implicitly paid by taking him here. So you got a guy who's played slot, who's played corner, who's played safety, free and strong. I mean, he's a guy probably carries a premium, and the Ravens already have 3 versatile players that they don't need to pay a premium for that trait yet again.
That's interesting because to me, the value of a guy who's maybe primarily a free safety is that he could return Kyle Hamilton to his like chess piece role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So his value is not in his versatility, but in one particular role.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think I wanted to do. Because earlier in his Georgia career, he was more true free.
Yeah.
And then they kind of moved him up more to nickel. That's something people said about him a lot. But I would think their plan is like we're parking him at safety. Like
yeah, I don't think he's as much of the star role player like Hamilton is. And when Javon Bullard was at Georgia with Malachi Starks, Bullard and Tyke Smith, both of those guys could kind of play more of that dime backer / star role in that defense. And I think they fit it better. And Malachi does a significantly better job when he's just playing free safety. So I think that's the idea for the Ravens
I think so too.
Is exactly what you're talking about. Let Kyle Hamilton move around the field like he was in 2023. And you can still, maneuver all your safeties. They can move around. That's fine. But when you have those critical downs that you need Hamilton in a particular spot to be your chess piece, Hamilton can now be in that spot to be the chess piece. And you can just say, Malachi, this is your job.
Go deep.
Go do it.
Yeah. And that's the answer to Jesus's question, I think, in the comments, which is the knock on the other safety is that he's more of a box safety, supposedly, even with his speed, and doesn't have necessarily great instincts or great football IQ. So that I guess that's the answer to that question. I don't know if it's true, but that would be the knock.
I think that's the general idea on it, but I do think Eman Wari can definitely play, deep halves. Like I think he's perfectly fine being a safety that takes away half of the field. He just might not be your traditional single high safety. He could turn into that. He has the athleticism too. It's really just amount of like what can he learn in a defense and like what kind of instincts does he have as a center fielder.
We just had Josh Connerly taken at number 29.
That's good.
By the Commanders.
I would say that's huge because it takes away. Yep, it takes away that from Kansas City. Exactly. Yeah. Now they don't have a good tackle to go after right now. I mean, a first round caliber tackle.
Yep. It's a long step down to Trapillo too, in my opinion, after Ariante Ursary. So it might even cause them to pull the trigger earlier on Ursary.
I love how much we all hate the Chiefs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
not like personally.
Tyreek Williams win in the first round?
Yeah, he went. He went after Baltimore.
Detroit.
Oh my gosh.
Who did?
I love that for Baltimore, but I also hate that another defensive lineman's off the board.
There's going to be someone like I feel like something's going to line up, or this is going to be one of those ones where we take 2 in the 4th. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There are plenty of them, but they're getting picked.
Yeah.
So the other thing that was your next guy, right? It was Tyreek, right?
Tyreek Williams is next interior defensive lineman. So the top 4 off. We still have Alexander, the guy from Toledo, and
Darius,
and then Harmon was the next guy, and then Collins, who I had hopes that he would drop to 91, but that ain't happening now.
No, he's we'd be lucky to get him at 59, but that's not going to happen.
The other thing
in the chat, John Mason asked how the Starks pick impacts Ardarius Washington. Curious what you guys think, but my take is I think they will likely play if Starks is ready to be on the field, they'll likely play a lot of 3 safeties, and they can move Hamilton or they can move Humphrey back outside.
Yeah. Yep.
If necessary.
Yeah.
The other thing is that
you could also bring in a lot of dime as well.
Yeah.
Have Ardarius and Starks as the deep, move Hamilton as the dime back, and you move Humphrey around either at slot or outside corner.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that lets you do is it lets you put Ardarius Washington as a backup slot as well.
Yeah, the nickel.
Yeah. He's good at that.
But I was going to say the other thing about Eman Urie is he really is very, very close to Hamilton, I think. in terms of like he wants to be like a Joker box kind of star guy.
Yeah, I
Sure,
couldn't
but you know
figure
what's
out how I
better
thought
than you know
about
what's
that. Like,
better than one Kyle Hamilton is two Kyle Hamilton.
I was trying to decide: is it better to have two, or do you
Not
need
necessarily,
different
though.
skill sets?
You know, I remember one of the things back with the Steelers when they had Palomalu and Ryan Grant is Ryan Grant.
Ryan Clark,
You know,
or Ryan?
Palomalu was all over the field wreaking havoc, but part of the reason why he was able to do that was because Ryan Grant was that steady safety in the back that could, you know, control the safety, play the deep role while Palomalu's going all over the place. And I mean, we kind of had a similar flip side to that with Ed Reed being that ball hawking free safety that's taking risks, you know, jumping routes, playing on instincts. And we would have a Will Demps or a DeJuan Landry playing that steady safety role as a strong safety too. So.
Yeah, I think like
draft room.
I think that the retort argument for Emin Worry would be that if he's as good as we think he can be, he can cover up for Hamilton when he's in the box and vice versa, and it would give you a lot of flexibility to interchange roles in a way that is contrary to Ken's belief that when you have interchangeable safeties, it means you usually have no free safety. If you have two excellent interchangeable safeties, then it gives you a lot of flexibility.
It is possible to have two good free safeties.
Yeah.
I think the other discussion you have to have is what will bring out the best in Emmanwori, and how would that fit with the Ravens? So, like, I think the best out of Emmanwori would be a very similar role to Hamilton. So, what does that do to Hamilton? Do you put Hamilton as the deep safety, or do you put Emmanwori as the deep safety and not bring out the best in him? Where I think Starks, I think is probably closer to Minkah Fitzpatrick, where he played all over the field in college, where he played a lot of the slot star roles, but he's really just a great deep free safety, and that's what he's turned into in the pros. I think Starks has that same kind of potential. He, don't put him all over the field, just have him play one role as the free safety.
I like it.
I'm pretty confident Buffalo's about to pick Emmanwori too.
Okay.
Yeah, Buffalo seems like they very much would be after a safety.
That Emmanwori is like big enough.
What about Will Johnson to them as well?
Will Johnson would make sense. Yeah.
They just signed Tre'Davious White. They don't need a corner.
There you go.
Emmanwori,
right.
Sean McDermott do a lot of the things Sean McDermott likes to do without giving up too much size. Because that Buffalo is a little team.
They could take a risk on Jahad Campbell or something.
I mean, they've
Max
been trying
Hairston
to get
of Kentucky is the pick.
Who?
Interesting.
Max Hairston of Kentucky, my number 3 corner.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fast
awesome.
corner.
Yeah.
That's a good pick.
They saw Nate Wiggins in the playoffs, and they were like, "We need to get me some."
We need
of that.
one of those.
Yeah, they saw what's his name on the Chiefs, their fast receiver.
Yeah.
Worthy.
Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy, up close and personal, and they said, "Oh, we need to match that speed."
That kid's fast, for real.
Jim, how do we think? How are we liking this outfit?
You know what? They all went to the same online shop to get these coats. There's just no other explanation.
This is an echo of that other kid's.
Eagles and the Chiefs traded.
Oh, interesting. Wait, Eagles traded with the Chiefs?
One
pick?
That's weird.
Oh, wait, Kansas City has back-to-back picks. Interesting. Wow.
Wait, where do you see that?
On my board, it shows that they have the 32nd and the 31st pick.
So they might have traded next year's number 1 to get.
No, wait. It's the other way
Eagles
around.
have the 31st.
They swapped picks.
Yeah.
They swapped picks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes much more sense.
That makes
I
more
think they were
sense.
probably maybe like protecting a player. Like maybe someone was trying to jump.
Maybe the Eagles want Emin Mori because they lose.
Yeah, they
Didn't
did.
they lose their safety?
CD.
They lost that crazy guy.
This kid's
Chauncey
fast.
Chauncey
He's
Gardner
not fast
Johnson.
enough for
Yeah.
Chauncey Gardner
The one-
Johnson, yeah.
The Philadelphia Eagle who will never be mic'd up. Apparently.
Gosh, this pairing would actually make me.
You know, there was some sort of rumor about Philly possibly trading AJ Brown, which makes no sense.
Yeah, I saw that.
They just need
Philly,
the cap.
Philly and Luther Burden could make sense, even though they're already loaded at wide receiver.
Or Ezeraku. They lost Josh Sweat. Ezeraku could be an option.
Keep Burden away from the Chiefs.
Ezeraku's a really good.
Ezeraku would be a good pick. Or actually Mike Green. He's still not picked, right?
Yep, not picked.
I would, for the same reasons as Baltimore did not pick Mike Green. I would be surprised if Philadelphia picked.
Yeah, but I feel like
or did pick Mike Green.
Philly just won the Super Bowl. They can kind of absorb a little bit more
That's true.
bad blood.
I know.
And
I know
Baltimore
The
had-
Chiefs have a history of taking those kind of players too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
but
sure
like
they
I know
do.
Philly. They also are very particular about character issues such as those. From everything Howie Roseman's ever, I have a good friend who's a Philly fan, so I've heard a good.
Speaking about Howie Roseman, I was listening to a podcast where someone wrote in and commented that he's actually not a great GM. He's a lucky GM because he tried to trade all his picks for the Seattle quarterback Russell Wilson, and Wilson vetoed the trade, and then he was able to trade after that for AJ Brown. But before that, it was going to be Russell Wilson to the Eagles, and they were going to lose all their picks. Does anyone remember that? I totally forgotten about that.
No, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Howie Roseman is both good and lucky. Like the
Yeah,
Colts
I mean-
taking that. Well, who was that quarterback? Carson Wentz. Like the
Yeah.
Colts taking that contract
Awesome.
was
Yeah.
completely changed that franchise. Also, like you trade for a first round pick and it ends up being Jalen Carter. Like you end up with like a
Yeah.
top, what was it, like 8 pick?
Yeah, you had the 8th pick, and he would have been a top 3 pick if he hadn't gotten that speeding incident before the draft.
Yeah. I think all good GMs are both good and lucky.
Yeah, and the
I
better you
remember
are,
Ozzie
I
the
agree with that.
luckier you get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that rumor that Ozzie tried to trade Terrell Suggs and like the 8th pick or whatever to move up to get Matt Ryan. So how different would the Ravens have looked with that trade?
Matt
I
Ryan's-
actually
Ryan's
wanted
so
them to
pretty
make that
smart.
trade. I wanted them to make that trade. Although not trading Terrell Suggs. Sorry, I didn't know about that. I did wanted them to go get Ryan though.
Yeah.
You know, Ken and I did a podcast a couple years ago about I think it was a Sliding Door Moments podcast when we talked about how Baltimore tried to hire Jason Garrett
Jason Garrett, yeah.
and turn them down, and then they hired Harbaugh.
Right.
And I remember being
Yeah.
I remember exactly where I was when they hired Harbaugh, and I was so angry. I was like, who the heck is this guy? A special teams coach?
Mm-hmm.
I love the process for hiring Harbaugh, and I love the fact that the Ravens were transparent about it with their season ticket holders. They gave us an entire, basically one magazine that was talked about how they went through the process and what they did. It's very good.
I remember when Harbs was hired, I did a kind of a deep dive into his background, and he spent, I think, a year in Pitt as a coach, maybe a tight ends coach or something. And he was, friggin' Sid Gilman was on the Pitt staff as like a consultant or something. And so he was breaking down film with Sid Gilman. You know, like Harbaugh has just it's a stupid thing to say, right? But he has a deep football background.
Sure, absolutely. Just really quick, not to cut you off, Jim, but B posted in the chat that the Ravens press conference is live. I don't know if anyone wants to.
Well, that means that they're not doing a Lamar Jackson, right? Like staying up and trying to trade back in or anything.
Or they might have to leave the room quickly, but it's the
Yeah.
Chiefs who have the pick at 32, so I don't think that they're likely to trade it.
No.
Yeah.
We're not
I don't
going
know.
to pick as
I don't know why
not
Baltimore would do that anyway.
I mean, it would take next year's number 1 to do it, so they're not going to trade them.
Yeah.
There's also just no one there worth it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I'll give you the press conference. Well, we got better as a football team today. We had opportunities to trade, but we blah blah blah.
Are you sure they think they got better?
Yes.
Malachi Starks is a great football player. He brings exactly the attitude we want to this organization. He's going to be one of our defensive leaders.
Yep.
I don't really care about all the bad angles and the yardage he gave up last year and the yards per target.
Well, when you watch the tape, you can really see the quality of football player that he is.
Plays like a Raven.
Plays like a Raven, definitely.
Plays like a Raven.
He's a leader.
Everyone plays like a insert team X.
You talk to the people around the facility. Everybody loves him. The strength coaches love him. The cafeteria workers love him.
Mm-hmm. He's a leader.
I really want someone to come out and just be like, "We got desperate."
No one left on the board.
It's like, yeah.
We tried to trade the pick. We tried it like
no one wanted
anybody.
The
pick. This whole draft.
We had a Ken McCusick happen to us. The guy right before just pissed us off so badly that
we would have had to throw in Lamar Jackson to move the pick.
Oh.
Okay, so let me answer David's question here real quickly. So, what's the chance that Malachi Starks becomes a Pro Bowler versus a bust?
Bust is always more likely.
What did you say?
A bust is always more likely.
I'm not sure. At the back end of the first round, bust probably 25-30%. Maybe if he's a bust in some at least sense, there's going to be various shades of gray on being a bust. I don't think it's very likely it'll be a Matt Elam bust.
I was going to say Matt Elam would be real bad.
It could be a bust at a lower level. If you're talking about what's his chance to make 2 Pro Bowls, this is what I'm gonna set as the limit for being a Pro Bowler. Maybe you just want one Pro Bowl, 35%. Let me toss it out there. I think it's just not necessarily going to come with the Ravens. Could be some other team.
That sounds really high.
I think there's going to be a lot of notoriety because he was the first safety taken from a big school. He has a kick-ass name, and he's going to be playing next to Kyle Hamilton for a team that had Ed Reed. So I just think like people are going to know who he is a lot more than say, your typical top tier safety. So I just think that alone makes him more likely to get to the Pro Bowl.
First inside linebacker is off the board. Jahad Campbell of Alabama goes to the Eagles.
That's a really interesting pick.
Oh,
that's got to be
interesting.
I think they're.
Ow, my shoulder! It hurts so much.
Don't hug him too hard.
Yeah, that's right. No, we need to be ready for training camp. Don't hug him at all.
Yeah, that's really interesting because they still have your other undersized Georgia linebacker plus Zach Bond.
Yeah. Honestly, not entirely shocked. I'm sorry. Say that they already have those guys on the Eagles roster. Yes.
Yes.
I'm wondering where he plays because they have They have Zach Bond, who they just signed. They have
the other Georgia guy, the smaller guy.
Well, that's their
edge. I'm really blanking on his name. No.
Nakobe Dean.
Yeah, Nakobe Dean.
Yeah. So I guess he's their third. God, that's a lot of speed.
That's a
long tackle on that.
Yeah, Jarrett, one good point about Starks is the ball skills are not what's missing from his game. It's the instincts, the angles of the football, and that potentially can be corrected just the way some of Emenwari's shortcomings can be corrected. The difference is that Emenwari, despite his shortcomings, he's been a great coverage player, and that's where that I have the issue here. I'll warm up to Starks. I even warmed up to Queen eventually, and then I got very cold again once we saw him actually on the field in that Kansas City game.
I think. Sorry, not to cut you off, Ken, but to summarize, like your position, I think the consensus was that Starks had the better production and Emenwari was the more physically gifted. But I think what you found in your analysis is that Emenwari actually had the better production between the two, and that's what made him so high in your book, was that not only was he more physically gifted, but he also had better production when you looked at the underlying numbers.
That's right.
And I don't think that was the consensus.
Yeah, that's right. And there were all kinds of people made excuses for what happened to Starks last year, but frankly, last year matches his whole career production. It's not like there's been a big difference between what happened before and what happened in 2024.
He's had
this
he
great
has
point
had,
by Jarrett.
Jarrett made a good point that he had to take another drink because Ken mentioned Queen again. So Jarrett, how many drinks is that? Like, are you okay? Do we need to call you an Uber from your couch to your bedroom?
What did you guys?
The one
What
thing
did you
about
guys think about Jahad Campbell? Sorry.
That's a lot. There's going to have a lot of tackling on that Philly team, man. Those guys.
Yeah, we were just talking about how they have Nakobe Dean and Bond.
Yeah, that's a lot of speed. That's a lot of athleticism in a linebacking core, for sure. Or they might move him to edge. I remember there was because he was like the number one edge player coming out of high school, but they had Will Anderson and what's his name, the other edge player. So they didn't have anywhere.
Byron Young.
Yeah, but they just didn't have anywhere to put him. So they might move him back to edge and just kind of redshirt him his like rookie year.
Yeah, I mean, look at how productive Zach Bond was, in terms of getting sacks, but he's kind of a tweener as well. He's not really an edge player, but he plays that linebacker, pass rush, situational role for him.
Really quick in the chat, Yash asked how Ken felt about Wiggins pre-draft last year, and he was actually Ken's number one corner for Baltimore last year.
Right, here's the board from last year. So Wiggins was 1 and Tampa was actually 6. So those other guys, including 2 that went to the Eagles at 3 and 5, were outstanding.
Yeah.
Do you still think like Wiggins is better than Mitchell, or just looking at him in the league?
I mean, Wiggins, he has tremendous ability to find the football in the air. I love that.
I think Mitchell had a better first year, but I think, like to Ken's point, Wiggins has all pro potential.
Well,
he's got everything you would want.
Right there, you saw Ken liked Javon Bullard last year a good bit.
I would be surprised if Wiggins and Mitchell aren't the 2 best corners in that draft. DeJean's like a slot guy, but in terms of like boundary corners, those guys look special.
Who are we thinking the Chiefs are going to take? I have a fear it's going to be Burden.
Crap! I think the pick has been tipped here.
It looks like it's been tipped. Yeah.
And that's my fault because it didn't have to be shown, but I clicked on it. But it's Josh Simmons apparently, and people know in advance here.
Damn, we forgot about Josh Simmons. Well, you see him as a guard.
That's right.
Okay.
I mean, they did just trade away one of their best guards.
He was a top-tier tackle, but he's just a little bit small. So,
is he the one that got injured and their other guard kicked out to play that position?
Yep.
Okay.
He's also he transferred to Ohio State, so he only really played 4 meaningful. What was it? 4 or 6? It was a small sample size of high-level competition.
6'4", 7'8", so basically 6'5", but I think he has small arms.
And he's under 320.
Yeah, I don't think the height weight's really the issue here.
Hey, Justin, can you do me a favor and bring up the cornerback metrics on Hairston from a few picks back? I want to take a look at that real quick.
What's his first name again?
Maxwell.
It's Maxwell Hairston, yeah.
I don't know if he had 300. I don't see him.
Oh, he might not have.
Let me check the original data set.
Okay, I will too.
33. Josh Simmons has 33
Yeah, I don't have
arms.
I don't have him in the data.
Okay, that means he didn't make it to 300.
Did he get injured?
Oh, he had a 34 bench reps, which is really good.
Who? Simmons?
Yeah, even at 33-inch arm length, that's pretty darn good.
That's excellent.
Benches. Yeah.
Actually, I think short arms are an advantage in the bench.
They are.
They are, but I'm saying 34 bench reps is still a lot for 33-inch arms.
The one thing they never get is seam length, which I always think is that's another really something that can really say a lot about your kind of change of direction ability, and they never measure seam length.
Okay, for what it's
Going
worth.
back to, go ahead, Ken.
Just quickly, Hairston had only 142 coverage snaps last year, so he would have been out of the data. So I was just wondering why we hadn't been able to go to that. So that's great.
Well, what
David
happened? Did he get hurt? Or?
Yeah, I got hurt, and he came back around week 8 or something, and then he got shut down for the year. Let me see this. Yeah, he missed the middle of the season, so he played 1 to 4 and then 12 to 14.
So David asked in the chat, going back to Starks, with his deficiencies, can we reason what the Ravens saw that made them think he's the best safety in the draft? And my first take on that is that he had a really great pedigree. He was really good throughout his career at Georgia. A lot of people believe he's the best free safety and that he was asked to do a lot this year to cover up for some other deficiencies in the secondary and played a little bit out of position. But I think it's probably the pedigree and the fluidity and, coming from Georgia. That would be my guess.
If I'm not mistaken, I keep forgetting the guy who's the big Georgia fan, but when he was coming out of high school, he was like more of a true DB. So I think he actually started at corner, and then they moved him to free safety his sophomore year. That was his best year. And then they moved him kind of to like a Kyle Hamilton Joker role, which I definitely think free is his best position.
3-year starter at Georgia, All-America honor each of his 3 seasons.
Yeah, I don't think Starks was ever a full-time outside corner. But
I could be mistaken. I know I've seen
he definitely has played some, man up on wide receivers and has the versatility to do that. It's just his best role at Georgia was playing single high, free safety or split safety.
Okay, guys, we're gonna have to wrap it up for the night here, and we got a long bunch of time the next two days to look forward to. Thank you so much, everybody's listening. The count looks fantastic here. A lot of people have been watching this stream as we go, and I see a ton of very high value commentary from the stream. So I think the interactive way we do this, I really appreciate, and I hope we get
commenters have been great and super interesting.
Yeah. And do you guys like the format, or more importantly, send me a DM with any changes you'd like to the way we do kind of the interactive spreadsheet approach, or the metrics. If you'd like to see some other metrics, doesn't mean we can get to them this year. It might have to be next year, but I want to hear about it. But everybody, one chance to go through. What's your big takeaway or the big look forward for this day of the draft? We'll start with you, Justin.
I want when the Ravens don't get like a kind of a need in the first round, I always expect them to like double dip. So I'm expecting like 2 outside linebackers to be taken. Braden Swinson's probably my personal favorite in the second round. I think he's the best fit, so that'd be my target. And then if they don't get like corners, I would expect them to double dip at corner too.
Okay, that's great. How about you, Spencer? What do you think?
Really intrigued by some of the edge options that we see in the second and third round. Wouldn't be upset if we walked away with one of those.
Okay, lots of good choices. Jake, what do you say?
I was amazed that the Ravens bucked, a historical trend by taking a Georgia Bulldog and somebody that I really like. So I'm happy about it. I think that the defensive line is thinning, even though it's a really big time group in this year's draft. So hopefully we can get somebody tomorrow from that interior group. And I'm also interested in the edge options we have.
All right, Brad, what do you have?
Mark in the chat just said that EDC in the interview said Starks had one of their best interviews ever, which makes me excited. I came on and said what I wanted was a pick that could help them generate takeaways in the playoffs. If I don't know if Starks is that guy, but he certainly plays the role that can contribute to that. So that's what I wanted to see, and I'm, they're smarter than I am, so I'm excited.
That's kind of the same attitude I had after the Queen pick, by the way. It's kind of the only one available.
Drink up, guys. I was
Brandon,
also
what do you
going to
say?
make. I was going to make one more Queen comment
Go
because
ahead.
Jake said they hadn't taken many Georgia players, and Queen was the first LSU player they drafted in the first round. So,
true.
Here we go.
What do you say, Brandon?
All right, yeah, I absolutely love the Starks pick. I think he's gonna fit really in well and really kind of raise the ceiling of this defense. I would love to see in the second round them attack the edge positions, potentially Jack Sawyer, who I really like in the second round, or even Oladejo. I think he's probably third round. They may, but they may have to trade back in the second, something like that. I really like those two. Also want to see them kind of, strengthen that offensive line. Like a third offensive tackle is still a need, and look for something like that possibly in the third round as well.
Okay. All right. Anybody else I've missed so far before?
Yeah, I got something.
Jim, what do you say?
I want to give a shout out to Jonas Schaefer of the Baltimore Banner. He did a breakdown of the players who were most mocked to the Ravens, like the 20 or so, and he said that the Ravens had shown clear preferences in the past to look for guys from power conferences who had been multi-sport athletes in high school, who had a history of like team captaincy or other leadership recognition, no medical or character flags, on the younger side, like 21-ish, and were considered a value. And he came up with 4 players who fit that profile. And those were, and the Ravens drafted one of those guys, Malachi Starks. So Schaefer was all over that as to what some of the factors were. A couple of the others were off the board.
Schaefer, Jonas was not as down nearly as I was on Starks. And I talked to him about it on his show recently. But
Yeah.
we have some very strong difference of opinion of thinking. What I've seen a lot from Jonas is him listing other people's mocks, and they had an overwhelming number of Starks at 27 kind of selections.
Yeah.
So there were obviously indications there to some people in the know that Starks was beloved by the Ravens for some reason. The interview process really makes sense in terms of doing this, but I really want to see a player who's different on the field than he was at Georgia. He needs to be a better lockdown player in coverage. We've been through this once before with Brandon Stevens. That pick was a much lower risk.
Yeah.
In terms of a guy who played a lot of different positions, played them all pretty well, and people think, well, you can make him into a great defensive back somewhere, in the pro level. I'm hopeful. Looking forward though, let's do that. The offensive line has had a fair number of picks, not as many as normal because the offensive tackle group is not too large. The guy I would like the Ravens to get, Ozzie Trapillo, in round 2, is a lifer. He's the son of a former NFL offensive lineman, a guard. And I think he would be a good one to get. I don't know if he's a guy that I want as high as 59. I thought they could get him at 91, but that gives you an idea, if you look at the offensive tackle board up there right now, just how much of a desert it is between Connerly and Trapillo, with just Ursery as an oasis in the middle. All right. Well, folks, great night. Really appreciate everyone, staying up late with us. Thanks for the listeners. Thanks for the streamers and all you people who contributed to this. We'll be right back here tomorrow night for a 2-pick day, and then for an 8-pick day if they all come to fruition on Saturday. Looking forward to working through every single pick of this draft until the Ravens make their last selection on Saturday. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you next time on Film Study.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
Go Dogs.
All right. It didn't.